we're not even talking about how hard those helmets hit the other helmets and how hard those helmets hit that AstroTurf and how hard no CTEs that you can't see until after they've passed. But we know
That's
about the
right.
neurological damage. But I stopped watching football after Colin Kaepernick
Yep.
was whitelisted. And I said, oh,
Whitelisted.
they
Yep.
treat this like, yes, okay, some people are making a lot of money. But not everyone's making, because that money's not guaranteed. And you look at those
Mm-mm.
contracts and you're like, well, those millionaires should just be quiet. And no, no, no. They are entertaining you like the gladiators.
Basically.
And 75% of them are black people. And it's run by owners that are on plantations and overseers. And they have a Rooney rule that they don't adhere to. That's
At
all
all.
some bull crap. So you're telling me that there's no qualified coaches? Only Tony Dungy was qualified? Kiss my ass with that. And these athletes could control the game, but they've been conditioned since Pop Warner to listen to Massa's voice. They've been conditioned to be in these systems, and they come through these systems of, so it was ironic to see an Ed Reed or a Colin Kaepernick or a Richard Sherman actually speak out, because that's not the norm. They are conditioned to go yes 'em
I
all the
mean,
way, even when they taking a check, even after they retire and they have money, they still do they get in line, and that's how they've been conditioned. And you have a white nationalist like Jerry Jones,
Dallas
who
Cowboys.
literally stood watching people get denied an opportunity for an education, never said a word. The picture comes out, and then people are defending him. Like, come on, like, what are we doing? Like, this system has to be changed, or we have to stop putting our eyeballs, our dollars, and our energy into something that means us no good. And that
And
got to be in life.
I
Yes.
mean, football is a celebration of the worst forms of violence. You said a gladiator. It comes out of all of that stuff. If people ever read Ralph Ellson's Invisible Man, in the first chapter, there's this whole description of the battle royale where you see black boys fighting each other for some coins, blindfolded. And it's just it's like, if you know anything about history and you see football, you're just like, what really is this? And again, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. When I was growing up in New Jersey, shout out to my home state of New Jersey, we were such we were so programmed as boys. We played tackle football on concrete. We used cars as parts of the field. We would knock each other into fences, into cars, on the ground. I mean, I still got fingers that are messed up, shoulders that are messed up from those years of playing, because we were told that's what being a man is. You know what I mean? Don't cry, suck it up, da da da. And I'm like, this is really ridiculous, because it's like we were just trying to destroy each other, basically. And I realized that for a lot of us, particularly if we come from poor backgrounds, sports, the entertainment industry, or the streets hustling seem to be what we think is the only options for us to do anything with our lives. That's not true. You're a writer, I'm a writer. You know what I'm saying? We have examples all in front of us, but if that's what we're exposed to on a regular basis, you got kids. I mean, I've been at basketball courts here in Brooklyn, Karen, where kids could dribble with both hands. They can go backwards, forwards. I mean, they had amazing handles, but then you start talking with them, they could not even construct a sentence. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, what is happening with their education? Because no one cares, because they only see them as, from the neck down, as bodies, just like we were seen as bodies on those plantations as enslaved people. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? And most football players, the lifespan of a football player, National Football League, is 3 to 5 years max. You hit it, worst contracts, no guarantees, barely. You know what I'm saying? And I've said to brothers, man, you need to go play baseball. That's where the real contracts are. No, it's
Oh
boring.
my goodness.
You
Yes.
know.
And you get to sit and eat pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds for most of the game. Yeah. You ain't gonna get hit but so hard unless you sliding home. Yeah, no,
Okay.
this is yeah, Eric I just his contract, what was it, $260 million or something? Like, I say, wait a minute.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Yes.
Yep.
Or tech, where they can use their brilliance to come in and remix an industry that is in desperate need of some soul, of
Yeah.
some real soul,
Yeah.
of some humanity.
Yeah.
We gonna leave our tech future in the hands of Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and Elon Musk? Like, no, you can't tell me there's not a kid somewhere in Brooklyn, Cleveland, Detroit,
That's
Oakland
right.
that has the acumen to come in and freak out some tech in
That's
some of
right.
these games that, instead of all of the games, it's funny, like the biggest games, Fortnite and all of these games,
Mhm.
Call of Duty, all about killing and destroying.
Yeah.
What's that? Grand Theft Auto, raping prostitutes, and I mean, it's just like, who's developing the games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not us.
And we don't realize how that all that stuff seeps into our DNA. It's a script that we're given, and then we end up acting it out. And it's just crazy, man. I mean, what's even crazy when you think about what happened to Damar Hamlin when he had to be resuscitated, not once but twice, once on the field, once at the hospital. His fundraising efforts for his toy drive had only gotten $2,500, but after that happened, it's over $8 million now. But I'm saying to myself, that's beautiful. It's wonderful that's happened, but most of us only respond to crises. We only respond to trauma and we're reacting to stuff. I'm like, how come we don't support each other like that on a consistent basis? You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of questions. Yeah, it's a conditioning. You're right.
So this is why, the 40 days,
I was gonna say
for
that,
me, it's like, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Kevin,
No, I was gonna say 40-day plan. Like, it has to include an imagine. Like, what is in your imagination you think is not possible that you're gonna try it during these 40 days? Go against the conditioning. Go against the conditioning.
Yeah, and for me, it's just sitting in like you said. I often say we are building a world that we want to live in. Like that's the journey and the charge to build, not to constantly react. We are taught to react to the whip, to react to the boss, to react to the firing, to react to the person said something, clap back, edge a snatch, react. But what's the plan? What's the plan? And the thing, watching Mully on Amazon Prime, and I had to stop at a point that it became like untenable for me to continue to watch. But he came into a thing with nothing, went to the rich area, built himself up and then he built an empire around vans at the time, taking people from here to there. So, back in the day in Brooklyn, you could, those street vans, Africa is where it started. Like, he had a fleet of those called Mullyways. And then he went from there to tires. And then he went from tires to energy, to gas. Like, he understood, all right, this is the car, but now I'm going to have a fleet of them. So now I'm employing, I don't have to drive anymore. I got hundreds of people now driving all over Nairobi, and I'm collecting money. And then I'm going to put tires, I'm going to sell tires because those things are going to need, and now gas that goes in it. So let me meet with the people. And he became like a multi-millionaire in the gas industry, in the energy sector. And it was like, we don't build systems. I'm like, this man whose parents literally left him in the bush with nothing, imagined a world that couldn't exist outside of his ability to see it.
Yeah.
And how many of us are not doing that? And how many of us need to do that? Like, that's a question y'all got to answer. 866-801-8255. I'm going to ask you about this Dana White slap that hasn't even gone viral because nobody's really talking about it. And Chris Brown's whole career was upended for a brutal beating of Rihanna, where she admitted hitting him first, like Dana White's wife hit him first. We still can't really embrace Chris Brown to this day, even though I think, he should have been on that list, but we'll talk about that later, because he can sing and is one of the best performers, dancers of our time, I think, for real. And Rihanna's forgiven him, right? Like, at some point, I don't know, maybe he should never be forgiven, but Dana White, who is the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is the UFC, which is owned by Lorenzo Fertitta and his older brother, Frank Fertitta III. Lorenzo grew up with Dana White when it was up for sale in 2001. Dana reached out to Lorenzo and asked him if he would buy it. They were in the casino industry in Vegas. That's where they were raised, because their dad was a dealer at the Stardust Casino and went on to become a manager at the Tropicana, Sahara. So that's that casino money. I'm going to say less about that. But 2001, Lorenzo and his brother bought the UFC for $2 million. I'm going to say it again. Bought it for $2 million. It's one of the largest sports spaces now. So Dana's wife, Anna, they met in the 8th grade in Connecticut. They married in 1996. So they've been together. I don't think this was an isolated incident. I think they get down like this. I think Dana puts his hands on her frequently. He was comfortable doing it in public. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction. Is what he does. But he's not being excoriated, and neither is Brett Favre, in my opinion, to the extent that Kyrie Irving was completely, y'all tried to completely cancel him. And, And Dana White slapped his wife in public on camera. Like, we got it on film. Should we do something with this? I mean, I personally, I'm not a UFC. I don't watch that the way I don't watch football for a whole lot of reasons anymore. I used to. I was watching it when in New York it was outlawed, because it was so violent. I covered it, and I've been to many UFC games, matches or whatever. John Bones, I was into it, but I can't anymore because I think Dana White's problematic. But your thoughts on that, Kevin?
It's crazy. I mean, I'm reading the headline right now that it said Dana White's mother's troubling claim resurfaces worst black eye I've ever seen. It's
Mm.
just like, huh. So I think you're right. There's a pattern here of domestic violence, and it's getting covered up because of who he is, or getting squashed because of who he is. But it seems as if there's something that's happening, you know. Um, Fellas, we can't do that. It's I've been honest about my own history, Karen, and I've also worked with a lot of men and boys through the years about violence against women and girls. I mean, look, right before I went on my break, the whole verdict came down with Tory Lanez, versus Megan Thee Stallion, and you still got people saying that Megan was lying. I'm like, why would someone lie? Why would someone go out of their way to lie about getting shot in the feet, be publicly, humiliated the way she was, put her stuff out there on Front Street just to make up a lie? I mean, and then to look at the number of men who have supported Tory Lanez, including Drake. I know folks are fans of Drake out there, but it's like this is a very serious issue. I mean, I don't know where I was. I don't know if it was when I was out of the country, but a man said to me that it's clear to me that there's an epidemic problem with how men behave. It's just off the chains, man. Look at the cat who stabbed those 3 young women and young men in Idaho. We got so many examples. The cat who shot at the club in Colorado. I mean, it's just endless, and this is why it's tied back to, this is a violent sport, but also football's a violent sport, and football's the fastest growing sport in America. And unfortunately, the biggest fan base that has been growing has been women. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that we don't understand that this whole society is rooted in violence and violence and violence in every way possible. You talked about the video games. It's everywhere. It's at a point now. I mean, I'm someone, again, not only did I grow up loving football and all kinds of contact sports, but loving, we grew up on Dirty Harry movies and Charles Bronson
Mhm.
movies. I love that stuff. Now I'm like, nah, I'm good. Not that I'm like anti R-rated films or whatever, but I'm just like, is all this violence necessary? I mean, is all of this necessary? Because when you put that out there, that normalizes behavior. And yeah, I can't even imagine me and my partner. We don't, I thank God I'm in a relationship now that's healthy and loving. And we like everyone else, we have our challenges, but we talk about everything and we agree about equality and mutual respect. And that we want to break some of these cycles in all ways possible, make sure we don't go backwards into behavior, or even violence is how we talk to each other. All of it, what I mean? I think about that stuff. Like when we were away, we paid attention to how couples related to each other, which couples, no matter what the gender identity is, who talk to each other, who show love to each other, who were clearly hostile toward each other. This is learned. You said it earlier, Karen. This is conditioning. This is learned behavior. And a lot of us simply don't know how to love ourselves, how to appreciate ourselves. So why would you not punch your wife in the face if you don't even care about yourself? You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm.